and like in my what do you call them, iPad Pros,
AirPods.
my earpods,
your cans.
AirPods.
yeah, they're miniature cans, elf cans, and like if I would look over here, the sound would it would center on where my device was, but it was just a Zoom recording. So I think there's some sort of there's something you can do.
Like, that's when you were trying to record in it, or
No. I was watching a Zoom recording. Like I
okay.
didn't go to a meeting, and so they recorded the meeting, right?
Yeah, okay, got it.
And whatever Zoom was doing in the playback, it enabled the elf cans to do, if you turn your head, it would modify the audio, which I think is what the spatial thing is, right?
Oh, okay.
So I was trying to look up. There must be. I mean, because I'm sure that the people recording it didn't have 6 microphones recording the spatialness or whatever.
What?
Right?
What? You don't
For our
you don't
little
have,
corporate
a full,
Zoom meeting.
Quadruple stereo or
Yeah.
full surround sound set up.
So Zoom must be doing something to with their audio, and I thought well, I want to do that.
Well, they do have a thing where you can listen to the audio unmodified during the meeting. I turned it off.
Oh yeah,
because I never
yeah.
used it. But it's if you're a professional podcaster and you want to do After
use my
Effects.
mix kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to look this up because it was fun.
I haven't done it. I don't know. Have
You
you
know-
listened to any spatial audio on any music or anything? To me, it just seemed unnecessary. I've never done it. I think I tried it for 20 seconds.
Neil Young is spinning in his grave, Brandon. Come on.
Well, I'm sorry, Neil. Sorry, Neil Young. I didn't mean to offend you. I just listened to hear that much that was different.
Wow. Yeah. What did he call his iPod competitor?
I don't know.
He had one though.
It was portable vinyl or something.
It's pretty fresh. I think the one Java one I went to, Neil Young came up on I actually went to many Java ones, but I forget if it was the one I went to while I was at BMC or when I was at Red Monk, but Neil Young came up on the stage because he was working with them, whatever their Java ME thing for on his special iPod that played music with high fidelity.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if that's still around or whatever.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it could be around.
Yeah.
Maybe we could look that up sometime.
Yeah, I read this whole article, and I'm embarrassed to admit this. I'm computer engineering, at least in the world of academia. So I guess I must have taken a signals class and but they explained that when you go with digital audio recorders, I don't know, I guess the idea is it's a sample and it's a stair step, and I guess that's completely wrong. That is not correct at all. And I was
what?
It blew my mind. I was oh, so there's this whole video where it's actually someone from Red Hat goes through and explains it, and he's got oscilloscopes and everything, and I was wow, I really messed this up. So there you go. If you ever want to understand that there is no digital loss between the two, then it was quite enlightening. So
where was the digital loss happening?
But I'm just going to instruct everyone to watch this. Go to the link.
All right.
Because I cannot.
Where's this link?
I will find it momentarily.
All right.
And, but it was crazy. It was weird. So
does that mean we have digital loss in our audio?
We don't.
No.
This audio is perfectly replicated.
Well, it's digital to digital the whole way. That's what you mean, right?
Well, no, but then when they play it, right, over the wave, the sine wave, the wave is exactly the same. There's no loss. Here,
right.
Let me find this thing before I really embarrass myself.
I mean, the only loss is compression artifacts and stuff.
It was quite the explanation.
Wow, Matt Ray's I do audio engineering in my sleep.
I don't know, Matt Ray. You may already know. Like I said, I'm not. I think I probably should have known how it worked, and I just. I nerded out on ripping my CDs back in the day, and and I've got a big stack of vinyl that is sitting in storage for 5+ years, and but it's I think I gave up, and now I'm usually listening to stuff on cheap headphones or blasting from my old phone, and
I'm getting close to getting a new phone though. I don't know.
Whoa.
The GPS died on me while I was driving around downtown Sydney, and that was not good.
What does that mean? GPS dies. Does that happen?
Like, you're using your phone for navigation,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, I give up.
Are you
know,
sure
and
that
then you're like,
Are you sure that wasn't Telstra?
yeah, pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, there you go, Matt. I put it in the stream chat there.
Oh
So you
yeah.
can,
Well,
you
okay.
can-
we're
not
gonna do this Amazon style. I'm gonna go read that for the next 10 minutes.
yeah. No, it's long. The video is long too, so you have to like. Yeah,
on,
it's
Brandon.
probably
I'm
too
trying to
much.
work
Maybe you
here.
can report back, like if you can just reaffirm that, like, yep, that's exactly.
I'm sure.
how you understood it.
I'm sure it's good.
Sure, it's good. All right, we ready? Do you want to get going?
What are we talking about today?
Do y'all have a hard stop? I mean, obviously you don't want to talk for 3 hours today. We'll do our usual too.
I have a meeting scheduled that I'm going to push back a little, but
Oh, is this the one that you have this scheduled every week?
yes.
Maybe we should just invite that person on towards the end of the podcast.
At the very end, they can do a recommendation.
All right.
We'll put the kidnapper voice filter on them so they can be anonymous.
Why don't we go? What time's your meeting, Matt?
All I talked about for this time.
Should
in
be-
45 minutes.
That's gonna be good. That's
It's
gonna
in
be
45 minutes.
That's another clip right there. So just add that to the samples. How about 4:45? So that'd be what 50? I don't know what time that is for all of you, but
That's what
1
we should
hour.
release for the holiday. Is just episode 6 of the Drunken Retired podcast was we were well on and mature. We'd done enough recording that I could do an outtakes episode, which
6 episodes in.
yeah,
explains why you got picked up by Spotify so quickly.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
You just,
Yep.
just outtakes. 6
Yeah,
episodes in.
My kids asked the other day, like, if Spotify wanted to buy your podcast, would you? Like, I don't care. Sure,
We have
whatever.
revenue. We could actually walk in. I could print it out in Quicken. I could bring in financials, and then we could start having the negotiations. So
Oh, that'd be
we
good.
have a number upon which people can argue about multipliers. That's the first step of any successful acquisition. It's
Okay.
like,
Do you think? Do you think we
look at the
could?
number I have. I think it's worth 100x. You think it's worth 10. Very hard when you have 0. When you have 0, you're like, it's all potential.
Oh, that's true. That's
But when
true.
you have the actual number, you'd be like, you just don't understand. We're a high
Well,
growth company. This is
I
early
think
on.
I think just like any private equity acquisition, it's they're going to relieve us of our strategy burden. You know?
That's right.
Well,
They're like, guys, we just need you to just keep recording. That's all we
Yeah.
care about. Like,
you
all
know,
right, fine, we'll
let
do
us
that.
deal with the advertising, and you guys just
Done.
provide content.
Oh, okay, we do. All of us. We have 3 ads this week, so please,
3 ads.
please drop
Wow.
drop in. Yeah, post
Do we-
like.
Okay, we got the post
Is,
light one.
is
That's
Spotify
good.
one of them?
Not yet. Not yet. I wish.
That's right.
When,
Do you like
oh,
music? Do you want to listen to your music anywhere as long as you have an internet or you remember to download it locally? Well,
I think we're all at this point. I think we're all Apple Music subscribers, so it's gonna be tough. Like we're gonna.
Not
have
me. I'm a
I
Spotify
went
subscriber.
back to Spotify. Apple
Ed,
Music.
okay, all right, you're back. That's a good. You're a good case study then. Matt, did you give up and go back to
No,
Spotify?
no. My son just not last night, the night before, he was like, you know that Spotify family subscription you got for Christmas last year? You should get it again.
Oh,
Okay, so Apple Music.
And I
is,
was like, okay.
All right. Well, all right. Then I stand corrected. We're.
Yeah.
I'll switch to Spotify if we have to. I'm happy to do that.
But we're about to become an all Apple family.
hey!
Ooh, nice.
Finally,
Nice.
finally. This means a year of Matt Ray complaining about screen time controls.
It is so broken. Oh my gosh.
It's so weird. Yeah,
It does not work at all.
yeah.
Which
We can-
thing are we talking about?
Oh, screen time
The
stuff.
screen
Oh,
controls.
yeah, I don't know. We've kind of given up on that.
Yeah.
I have that manually implemented. Like, give me the iPad. Put the iPad over here. But I only have one person,
yeah.
so it's easier for me. I have like only one. I have to.
So I got a fingerprint reader, a USB fingerprint reader that I'm going to put on the Windows PC, where it's like, give me the fingerprint reader, and then you can't log in without it. But right now we have a much better solution. Give me the power cord to the video, to the monitor.
I feel like these things create a lot more work for me than they ever. Than they
It
actually
did,
prevent.
yeah.
The
You know,
idea
the
that the prevention to more work for me is I've been way off. I'm always like, oh,
well, you know, surprisingly, the give me the power cord to the monitor that actually works really well.
yeah. I guess you're right. That's pretty easy because you just give it to them. I mean, they know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably not hard to
I think with just a few more features, screen time could work perfectly fine. It's one of I think there are just too many. This is yet another Apple product where you're just like, I don't know what they're doing here. Like, maybe someone could just give them like $300 million from like the coffee stir straw budget to like figure this out. Like, it's ridiculous.
I'm about to set up like a little kiosk where we've got a charging station for each of the kids' laptops and each of the kids' phones, and and one iPad, because the other two have been broken. But it'll be like every day you have to check them back in, right?
Yeah,
because the problem, we've got the Wi-Fi schedules, and of course, they just hotspot off their phones.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Like, I believe this is a parenting best practice thing. It's like where like some parents are like all phones, every device when they go to bed is put on like a place that you just talked about. Like what one person had like in their entryway. It was like, you could see it was like, this is where everything gets charged, everything's put away. And then, it's like returned, or not returned, but they get it the next morning. And so I don't know. It does seem like, I mean, we're not quite like that, but it's just sort of de facto. I'm kind of like that, where it's just like, okay, just leave it here and it's done. So, I mean, it seems like the best.
It's like what do they call that when you're in prison and you can go out for the day instead of furlough?
Go to the yard, get a furlough.
No. You can actually like leave the prison grounds and go somewhere.
Like a day pass or something. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Conjugal visit.
No. No.
No, I know what you're talking about. It's there's a whole
like,
word for it.
Can I have my phone for a conjugal visit?
But that's what the
what was it
iPads
called?
get during the day, and then they have to go back to prison.
Furlough, maybe a furlough. No, it's
Something like that.
All right, you guys are ready? Let's get going. Matt's got a call. He's going to be running out of time already.
Yeah, I'm busy.
No, let's invite the person on. Be like, hey, how's it going?
No.
All right, 3 ads, Kote. That's all I need you to remember. 3 ads.
That's a bummer. You could invite someone. Okay, that sounds good. Let me expand this window. Okay. Well, as always, I like to use this time in the beginning to get some input about how to think about my life. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned this. As close listeners will know, I technically don't live in Amsterdam anymore. I live in a very small enclave community called Duivendrecht. Dovetail, I think, is how that translates. It's a nice place. It's different, but it's still fine. I like it. It's nice and calm. Now, we have similar. I don't know what y'all have in Australia, but the trash system here is you don't really have the little carts like you would back in the States. And instead, built in at the end of most every street, they go way underneath, maybe like a full story's worth, like this gigantic metal tube thing. And on top, there's like this, I don't know, it's just like a trash chute. I could describe it, but it's just, a metal box that you open up and you put your trash in it.
And it's communal?
And the trucks.
That's awesome.
The trucks that like take it away, I should send a video of this, but like there's kind of like, there's this thickish metal pole that comes out of the top of them with kind of rings around it. And the trucks come down and they have this like arm that comes down and latches onto this truck and it lifts the garbage can out of the ground. And I'm telling you, it's like as tall as a story in a house.
Wow.
Like, and then it brings over to itself the truck, and I guess it, pushes a button, and the bottom of the trash can opens and just dumps out there. And it's really like, the first time that you see these things, and the 5th and the 20th, you're kind of like, this is amazing, right? This is what the Romans have done for us. And so, like. Now, it's all cool. Yes, and it is communal. Obviously you pay taxes bundled in your...
Yeah.
You're
I've got a little tiny trash can for a family of 5. So every week is a struggle.
Now, not only is it the trash, but they'll set up with, you've got your paper recycling.
Yep.
And you got your glass recycling. Now, in Amsterdam, there was only one hole for the glass recycling. Here, they separate it by white and... I don't know what the other one translates as, but it's white and not white. So it's which is fine. And then there's another one that is called the PMD, which wasn't that the name of like that big like late 90s hip hop guy? Wasn't there a guy named PMD?
There was PM Dawn and there was EPMD.
PM Dawn. There you go. So I always think of PM Dawn.
Yes.
But the PMD is like plastic, metal, and duranium, I guess. I don't know what it stands for.
It's a vibranium source for all of Amsterdam.
That's right. That's right. But however, here in Duivendrecht, as in Amsterdam, they have consolidated the plastic into the regular trash. They say they separate it, which is fine. So basically, you can throw away your PMD material, your metal and your plastic, and your cartons, your Tetra Paks, into your regular trash to throw away. Now, one grand mystery of the Netherlands is I don't know if they recycle. They must recycle metal, but like in Amsterdam, you just throw the metal into the trash. Maybe they magnet it out, but I don't think aluminum is magnetic, right?
Yeah, you can't magnet it all out.
So there's something going on there.
They're using it to build more land. They're like, we're recycling it. Recycling it is making us go farther out in the ocean.
That is a good point. Kind of like the Isle of Dogs. They're kind of like building out that kind of thing. So anyways, so that's the context, right? Normally, you got your trash. You just go walk out there. You open up this big thing, put your trash in, your white and your not white glasses, whatever. Now, I think it might be the beginning of January. It might even be the 1st. Here's what's going to happen here in Duivendrecht. Is they put these little card things on the trash cans, except for paper recycling, mysteriously. And you've got to like scan in with your card, like you're going to the office. And it's very frustrating. You scan your card on the little thing. It beeps once. And if you're like me, you're like, oh, when a thing like this beeps, it means it's ready. And then you start just like doing the door thing and it doesn't work. And you're like, this must be broken. But what you learn, like I did after a while, is that you've got to wait for the second beep. I don't know why you have two beeps. I think that I'm no user interface expert, but it seems like touch the card, thing beeps, it means go. But no. Wow. I think maybe it's just I think these cans are from Belgium, so maybe there's something in Belgium culture that's like I would need to notify you that something is about to happen, and then I'm going to notify you when the thing happens. I don't know if that comes from that country there, but that seems to be it operates there. So, anyways, we got these cards. What's going to happen next year is you're going to have to start paying 50 cents per open to put your trash in there. Now, I have not verified this, but it would be an absurd state of the world if we paid the same amount of taxes. And taxes is a cruel word. If we paid the same amount each month for our trash service, right?
Usage fees, yes.
So I'm assuming that the fees that we pay, I'm sorry, fee is even is a bad word. I'm assuming that we have trash takeaway as a service. I'm assuming that our metered OpEx trash thing like is getting switched over to a pure as a service OpEx thing where we only pay when we open it and throw it away. And supposedly it's cheaper. But I want to ask you too. Like I obviously, no one really gets to decide these things unless you're some sort of super active person in the municipality you live in. But which system would you prefer? The sort of like fixed rate, the CapEx expenditure every month? Or would you prefer like I pay 50 cents per throwaway? Well, let me rephrase that. It's not 50 cents per throwaway. It's 50 cents per opening of the trash bin.
Well, that just sounds ripe for abuse. I mean, you're like, here's my 50 cents. And then like 9 trash bags later, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm ready to abuse your system, Cote.
I mean, there it's so it has one of these round things, right? So it's not just that you open it and put it into a black hole. It's if you imagine almost a barrel-sized container, right? So it's one of those things where like when you open up the door, you're opening up the door, and the bottom of the barrel is coming out, so it covers up the opening.
Okay. My 9 trash bags not gonna happen.
No, unless you compress them down quite a bit. And
I'm already living in that world, and waiting for the Garbo to come down the street and waving him down and throwing extra bags into the trash truck as he drives by.
I think we are only about
the Garbo.
five minutes.
Yet another word right there that I've learned. That's.
I was going to say we're only 5 minutes into the episode and we've learned some new Australian slang.
Garbo.
The Garbo.
I didn't even know that. Okay.
Did you make that up or is that
no? That's a real thing.
That's like the electrician.
Sparkies.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh.
And the firemen. Fireys. Sparkies.
This is getting
Garbos. Tradies.
Are you sure this isn't some slang for like, some sort of casual sex club or something?
No. It's just weird when you see it in print in stores and stuff. It's just like, that's the way this country works, right? You see it quoted from politicians. They're like, well, if the Garbos won't come to the union table, and you're like, wait, what?
That's amazing.
All right, but okay, Cote, back to your original question. I guess we'll just get us back on track here. I would assume the reason, I guess I would come back to like the first principle. Why are they doing this? I assume that they want to do like a consumption-based tax because they want to reduce the amount of usage, right? So that seems to be, and I guess to your original question, I mean, I think always in the case of like, let's call it the all you can trash or all you can garbo pricing. I mean, we always want that, but
the issue, trash on the trash man, Brandon. Right, get your adjectives and verbs straight here.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. But the way that, but I guess it sort of comes down to like, which side of like, as a person just living with it, yes, I would rather pay one fee that's embedded and have unlimited use of it. But if there is some higher order thing, and introducing friction means that you will be more conscientious about like what you throw out, or you use less, and there's a consumption-based tax that's trying to have you use less, makes sense. I don't know the situation there, so I don't know if that's like an issue.
I didn't even think
how you'd have to decide.
I didn't even think of it as a way of driving behavior, because
that's what it's there for, right?
Because they
don't charge you for recycling, do they?
I don't. Well, that is actually a good question, because no, because so the glass is open, so the PMD one has the little scanny things on it.
Oh,
but then, like I said, they said you can put that into the trash, right? So that is complicated, right? Because so they are charging to recycle the plastic, and in fact, if they're encouraging you to mix your plastic in with your trash, it's creating more of a volume, right? So think about it. If you have an empty plastic milk jug, you should squish it down, but that's going to take up more volume in your trash, and therefore it raises, I don't know how to describe this, right? But like, it makes it more expensive to throw away your current volume of trash because you've got to mix those things
together. They need to bring back the milk sacks like they have in Canada.
Now, I did notice, I don't know if these are going to be free. They did send out a huge broadsheet brochure, and I only translated the part that had the money in it. It was kind of hilarious. It was like, it's very wonderfully done, like brochure that was probably 6 pages. It was like all those free little like newspapers and zines we used to have in Austin in the 90s, kind of like that size. But there was only a small paragraph about how much it actually cost. And all the rest of it was some other jibber jabber. Like, who knows? But like,
about being green and
yeah, but there is actually, I think they have introduced the composting trash cans. Ooh, I've seen those around, and I don't think you have to pay to use those.
Well, see, and so there's all sorts of unintended side effects here. When you start charging for something that felt free before, obviously you were paying for it. Now you're going to be like, well, I'm going to reduce the amount of trash. That sounds great. But what's going to happen is you're going to be like, well, this pizza box, it doesn't have a lot of grease on it. It can go in cardboard, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, but it says no pizza box. It's like, not that much grease. It's okay. And then you're like, this aluminum foil's got some food on it, but aluminum is mostly metal. That goes with the metal, recycling. Yeah. And so you start to like get laxer on your recycling rules. And then, you start, carrying around bags of trash and throwing them away at convenience stores because you don't have room in your trash can.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Now the real, I mean, maybe just, I have 2 comments on this situation. Well, 3. One is just like, it's fine. I have fine. I'm an American living here in the sleepy village. I like what they're doing. It's great. It's just like, thanks for having me. Having a good time here. But one, I think I do not know how my family could reduce the amount of garbage that we create.
I've tried. Right? And it sounds great to me because I'm tired of having bags of trash waiting for the trash can to empty to put the bags back in the trash can.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like the manual screen time thing where you can just take the iPads from the kids, right? It's just like garbage is produced. So there's that. And which is a-okay. The second thing is my major concern is, we have a dog, and it used to be there were a lot of trash cans everywhere, and when the dog poops, we happily, I wouldn't say happily, but we pick up their poop in a bag, and you want to throw the bag away. Now, I don't know, am I going to have to pay 50 cents, like, to find a convenient place to throw it away? Now, there are plenty of trash cans that are like those tiny little, like, trash cans that are, for throwing away your soda or whatever, little park trash cans.
Yeah.
But they are not as prevalent as all the other trash cans. So, I think what we've ended up doing is if on our walk route, there isn't a convenient trash can, we actually just leave the little bag on our doorstep to take out at some point, which just that doesn't seem like living. Right. That's and now there also every bus stop has a trash can you can use. So I can also do that.
Got it made in the shade. You just need to plan your dog walking route based off where you're going to throw away.
But here. So as always with these kind of things, it is. So if there's a NIMBY, what is the one where it's sort of like. I overheard Kim using this phrase where, your parent always says like, well, it's not you that I'm worried about. It's the other people I'm worried about. Like when it comes to like driving safety, and so we of course are virtuous with our dog poop, but my concern is the other people who already seem to just let their dogs poop and not pick up the poop everywhere. And now they're going to have this like political chip on their shoulder that like, oh, well, if I can't, this is how people like that sound. If I can't just throw away my dog poop easily, why am I even picking it up? I'm just gonna leave it here, because I feel like if you pick up your dog's poop and throw it away, is like a pivotal sort of like gauge of societal interaction. You're always just like one bad evening away from becoming a complete anarchist with your dog poop.
All right, we're going out on that. I didn't see that that segue ending there. I like it though. All right. Well, Cote, I don't know. I think you'll need to check in and let us know if this is what broke Amsterdam or the city of
Duivendrecht.
Dovetail.
It's like the Dao Te Ching. The Duivendrecht.
It's just gonna be Dovetail. It sounds like you're living in rural Texas now. Dripping Springs, suburb, Dovetail.
No, it's like I think I've used this analogy before. It's like Spring Valley, is that right? In Austin, where it's just like
Sunset Valley.
Is it Sunset Valley?
Sunset Valley's at 280 and 183.
Yeah, it's like that tiny city that's it's an enclave.
Has like lower taxes, and Rolling was the same way. Yeah,
they probably have like a ton of free trash there. I bet. So
all big box stores. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, new sponsor this week for everyone to check out. Everyone go check out the Postlight podcast. Put the link there. Ooh. Listen to
tech.
Some people talk about digital transformation.
Ethics. Do they talk about dog poop?
They talk a lot about living in New York City. So I bet you that has come.
I bet it comes up at some point. They're like,
it's probably come up.
They're like, who leaves poop on sidewalks?
They're also largely
from New Jersey.
They're Gen X parents. So, I'm sure they've
it's
had
a good
lot
podcast.
A lot of talk about children, and if you talk about children, then you talk about dogs. So
I bet they have an opening at some point where Paul's like, Rich, I was walking down the street, because he kind of does sound like that. I was walking down the street and I stepped into something squishy. Oh, Paul, did you? Yes, Rich. Have you ever had that experience? And then your child steps in it too. And
is this the ad read?
No, but we'll clip that. Maybe I should send that to them. I mean, Cote always endearing us to our fine new sponsor.
It's a good podcast.
I agree. I think I can't find it. I was trying to look it up because old school. I mean, this would have to be way back. I think one of us recommended, or I know for a fact we talked about some of the things they were talking about, and it used to be known as Track Changes. If you go way back, right? That was the name of the podcast, and then they did a rebrand because their company's called Postlight. And so anyway, so we have been listening to, I know Cote, you and I certainly have talked about it a few times. I'm sure you've been on that, Matt, too. So we do. Yeah. It's a good podcast. They're good. They talk a lot about good stuff. I don't know, very relatable. Probably, hopefully like this one. Maybe not like this one. Maybe less dog poop talk. I don't know. Listen to it. It's good.
That would be
I like it.
That would be the best ad. They might talk about
I do. I like it. I mean, I legitimately did. I mean, when they reached out, even you, Coach, I think we both know. And then he wrote that article, like, what is code? That I'm sure we talked about that. That was the time.
He used to write for Harper's, all sorts of
it was
stuff.
like we talked about it all the time.
Here's what we need our streamer buddies to do is you should send them an email or send them a tweet and say, I subscribed to your podcast because I heard this ad on software.
Yeah, well, that would be great. I mean, that would be fantastic.
Because I noticed that the URL
Maybe
they sent is
maybe leave out this part of the recommendation. Say you listen to the actual audio ad, not the not the one we're doing here, not the
oh man,
not the endorsement that's happening right at this moment.
Can you guys talk about dog poop more?
No, we can't. We can't.
The intersection of poop and tech.
You know, when we stream this, sometimes I'm like, I really wish more people would watch it. Then other times I'm like, I hope no one really watches the stream. You know, it's like I have like such mixed emotions about it. It's like, and it's like, well, should we delete some of these YouTube videos or should we just leave it? I guess I don't know. In the end, it's out there, so whatever. All right. We can, Coach, you can get us back on track.
Our AI streaming overlords are going to get us.
We can start whenever you want.
All right. Oh boy. Okay, I'll pick this one. That's easy. Well, I read the most recent. I read the most recent. Let me start over again, Brandon.
All right, reset.
Because why not?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Recent. I read the most recent developer relations PDF. Now, I don't know the, how would you say it, provenance. I'm not familiar with the organization that does it, but they seem fine, I'm going to assume. And there's several slides that I enjoyed. You know, as always, the what people get paid slide is always nice. I like that. And that was fun to look at and see what's going on. But I think there's one slide that I got to, Matt Ray, and I know that you are the head of developer relations. Did I get that title right?
Director, yeah.
Director. Sorry. Is there a senior vice president of director relations?
No. It's just, usually you don't put, I'm the head.
That's true. I've seen that quite a lot recently. That people, their title is head of something instead of.
Okay. Dog
that's
poop
fine.
and heads. Yeah,
that's fine. Director. Do you have any reports?
We're a 12-person company.
I want to prepare you for this, Matt Ray. When and if you get required, I think you're not going to be a director anymore. That's what happened to me.
Wait, what?
Yeah, because unless you have reports, you can't be a director. So
that happened to me. That happened to me with the chef acquisition. I went from regional manager to senior principal something or other engineer.
So if you get a chance to talk to your investment bankers, you might want to have them write that in to the terms there.
Let's see what I can do.
Anyways. So there was one question that was, where do you report to? And I have the bar chart here up on my screen, one of my mini screens. I had the Bloomberg terminal in for repairs.
And we'll make the bar chart the show art. So just look at your podcast player right now.
And it says, I'm going to start from the bottom. It says, we report to sales 3.1%. I'll round these numbers. 3%. Okay. We report to CTO 11%. We report to CEO 12%. Are y'all getting excited as we go up the stairs here?
It's getting exciting.
We report to engineering, 16%. We report to product, 17%. We report to marketing, 26%. So it looks like if we group together, let me see, what is we got a 26 plus a 17. That sounds like a lot. Math. Basically, if you are like, there's the best chance, the highest chance is you're going to be reporting to marketing. Then it's sort of like, I think the difference between product and engineering probably only applies in larger companies.
Yeah.
I assume in your 16-person company, you don't have a distinction between product and
same
engineering.
Guy. Yeah. Also co-founder and head of stuff.
Yeah. And I think even at Pivotal, we didn't really have a distinction between product and engineering. It was just all the same. We do at VMware. But I mean, it seems like those are the two areas that I don't understand this. We report to the CEO. I think that's maybe there's a bunch of startups that
I report to the CEO.
Exactly. I think maybe we can kind of eliminate that one,
throw that
except
one out.
for startups.
Small companies.
Which actually that's not fair because a lot of developer relations is done at smaller companies, right? So maybe that does make sense for it. But what struck me here is I think there is there's always this ongoing like tension, or sort of like what's the word? What's the positive version of the word where you're kind of like, the negative version would be like you just always have a lot of self-doubt and existential crisis about like your point in life, and like, you know, if you're like fitting in there well. There's a better version for that, but like, or identity crisis or something, but there's always this uncomfortable
introspection.
Yeah. There's always this unresolved sort of feeling, I think, with developer relations people about their relationship to marketing and their relationship to just like being a tool to helping their company make money.
And I do think, Cote, I think you see this, and I think this is why it's sort of fascinating survey. If you go to the next graph, which will make the show art, it highlights what you're saying perfectly. It's the value of developer programs. And so they basically come down, and you kind of see this play out in this survey. So of the respondents, 16.9%, the primary value is to educate and support developers. And then the next one down at just 16.2%, so very close, to drive awareness. And that to me is the subtlety of, to drive awareness is a marketing function, right? So it makes sense that then when we see the hierarchy, if the goal is to drive awareness, then it would make sense for that to then go into marketing. If it's to, and then the subtlety here is to educate and support developers. And the third one is to drive engagement, also a marketing thing. And I think this is the tension, right? Some people see developer relations as like, I just educate and support. They really completely divorce themselves from that as something like I'm creating something in the funnel. Whereas other people see it as like, absolutely, we are creating awareness, which is in the funnel. And I think that plays out in the organizational hierarchy. And I think that is the internal tension that is constantly like within developer relations. It's like, what are we doing versus what we think we're doing? And I think some people would say driving awareness is completely not what we want to do in developer relations. Other people, I think, see it as the exclusive function. So I don't know, Matt, it's really I feel like we're on your block here. So you can chime in as to what you think it should be.
There are different, I mean, there's kind of this like split in the report about how developer relations works. In some organizations, it's to drive awareness, and some it's to drive adoption, and they're not exactly the same. You know, when you have a new product, user acquisition means two things. You know, if you're sales, it's like, I need people paying me money, and if it's marketing, you're like, I need people at the entrance to the funnel, right? And whether or not they make it all the way through, that's not marketing's problem. I mean, eventually it is, but it's like, you know, hey, I got you the leads. What you do with those leads is different. And so, you know, the goal here is, do I need to get as many people aware of our product as possible, or do I need to get as many people paying for our product as possible?
Yeah.
And those are very different marketing campaigns.
But also, I think within that, though, is a group of people that and I think this is where the first one comes from, to educate and support, which it's more like an academic, like professor kind of mentality. It's like, listen, I don't care which goal that you have. What I do is I just educate people on how to use this and how to be great at using our product, our tool, and things like that. And they completely, like, there's a wall. And I think it's okay when someone volunteers, like, I don't want to deal with any of this. I just educate people.
Well,
and a different, and in some cases, like, someone is so talented or like has so much knowledge that people allow that. They just say, like, you're so good at that, I just want you out there giving this training class, and they never think about it. But I think the people that are thinking more about, like, as a, like, how do I integrate in the business, you are kind of making some type of choice. Like, am I trying to drive awareness, or am I more a training function? And it's like, there's a subtlety there, but it's a real different way that you talk about your business value to CEOs. Like, a CEO is going to be a lot less excited to talk about how is the training programs coming along versus how is the awareness programs coming along.
But when you have this, you know, sales closing and marketing, you know, bringing the leads in, there's this place in the middle. It's like, how do you help people make that transition? And that's where, to me, that's where, like, developer relations is living. It's like, hey, we got some people into our community, we got them using our product, I need them to succeed. And, you know, the idea is, when they succeed, they're going to keep progressing down the funnel and become an active contributor or paying customer. You know, the Charming Pirates that we talked about recently. You know, are they going to become an open source contributor? for those of us living in open source land, or are they going to become a paying customer for those folks doing DevRel for commercial companies? But that's the thing, is like, I need more people coming in from the funnel to use the product so I can find out how they're using it, educate them, make sure they have a good time. And then, they get kind of a warmer handoff to sales, who does a better job.
Right. And closing. I would say that is marketing. That to me, right what you just described, then that is sort of the textbook definition of marketing.
But it's also product, right? Because I'm going to be the one who, the developer relations person is going to be the one who sees customer or users trying the product, running into issues. Is the issue the product doesn't work the way they expect it to? Is the issue the documentation sucks, or it's full of bugs? Those are things that you're going to go back to product. You're not going to go to marketing and say, like, hey,
but
guys,
I just think this is the function. I mean, call it whatever you want, product marketing, developer. I mean, just that area of like, hey, we're like, we know who they are now. They've engaged us in some way. And now I want to like give them content that's relevant to the problems we're trying to solve, make sure they're successful, make sure that they, anything that in the pre-sales side, before they've made some decision, any type of a objection that they raise that we can either address, or we can take, to your point, create the feedback loop so that our organization knows about it, can potentially implement new features and things like that. And it's just like to me, that's like the fundamental, at least that is one version of developer relations. But back to your original thing, Cote, I think that's where you see this tension, where I definitely think there are people that do it that say, no, I don't, like, I'm divorced from that. I'm agnostic. I'm not in sales. I just tell people how to use it and how to make that great, but I stop there. I don't think a word about awareness or funnel.
Yeah, engagement. I mean,
when you raise that, I get upset if you raise that to me, because you sort of taking away from the job that I want to be doing.
That only works if you can only have that ivory tower approach if you are in an organization that is so large that you can divorce those concerns. And there is, I'm working with, I'm not naming names, but I'm working with an organization that has an 85-member developer relations team. And
that's large.
That's large, right? And, that's... those people don't have any real, I mean, maybe they do, but it doesn't feel to me that like they have a lot of skin in the game, but with what is sales message, right? And so, like, obviously being at a small startup, I'm jumping back and forth between, hey, we've got a sales call with these folks on this time. Let's make sure the presentation does this, and make sure that, our sales engineer has this messaging, and hey, let's make sure that product is ready to do that. And like, I mean, these people are pretty far divorced from anything.
Well, I would even say when you have that organization, when organization gets that big, that starts to edge up onto like what I call like training, certification, a whole group that like a company that are that large is sort of like, it gets so big that like they're trying to run certification programs and put out content that can be vastly used by everyone and come up with the test to do the certifications. And at that point, it isn't awareness at that point anymore. It is sort of its own function. And that exists because there's such a big need, right? Like they have so much coming in that they actually need just like someone just thinking about training. So I think, I do think to your thing about Cote is like, I definitely think the ivory tower view, and I think maybe that's even pejorative. I just feel like I've talked to a lot of people sometimes in developer relations where people kind of say, no, they just really feel like it becomes tainted if you start like asking about awareness. They really feel like, and I think it's just like the typical thing, like most people hear marketing, they think advertising. Most people think advertising, they think of an ad that disturbed them or annoyed them or things like that. And it's like, that's the first thing you have to untangle in someone's thinking, right? Before you can have a conversation. If
you don't think you're in sales, you're just wrong. Like that's your function in the company is sales.
And you're like, getting some like tough Gen X love right here. Like I just heard a whole bunch of millennials just pause this podcast before we got the 2 ads. I'm a little disappointed, but don't worry. Hey, you can go back. It's all right.
We can go back talking about dog poop. But the point is, like, you are in sales if you're in engineering. You are in sales if you're in marketing. Obviously, if you're in sales, but developer relations, you're not just making this product to make sunshine and rainbows. You're doing it to like, you have a purpose for the company you work for. There are definitely like, foundations, and they have developer relations positions that, are less tied, they're not sales. but they are more pure awareness. But for most of us, we work at commercial companies that need to sell software to pay our salaries and, those of our coworkers. And the whole point is like, we're all in sales,
Yeah.
And so you can't divorce yourself from that.
Now I have going back, I have a follow-up question to ask you, Brandon, because I didn't know this chart that charts a bar graph of purpose versus a pink line of value. I didn't understand what that was saying. Is purpose like stated mission statement and value is what they actually find valuable? I couldn't figure out what that was doing. And I only ask because there's a few things on this chart that are out of whack of each other, right?
Yeah, I think, you have to, I would agree with you. And, everyone, like I said, I'll put, you can look at the cover art and make your own decision. I think some of these things are just kind of saying the same thing twice, just sort of like, it's almost like feature benefit. Like sometimes they're like stating something, but the thing that I kind of just took away from it, and I think, and this is why I liked it, was just this, like the duality of like the reporting structure versus what people, think the value is versus sort of like what the perceived value of it is. And so
value is perceived value and purpose.
I mean, to me, right, I think it is, because there's no way to like, there's no definitive way to say the value. At least in a survey like this, there's no way they can say like the value is 26%, right? I just think it's what people think the value of it is. And I like, to me, I really do. I like just putting my cards on the table is just sort of like, yes, I think if you're running developer relations of any kind, I would be measuring or thinking about like, we want to create awareness amongst a development community of this product, right? And I think the place that maybe developer relations can start to push back is like, hey, just because you want to create awareness doesn't mean the only thing that we should do are like webinars that they register and white papers and all these traditional things like that. The place is like, hey, we need to be looking at different tactics. And now that's a whole nother question. And I think that's a place where executives tend to really, micromanage and not understand. It's like, no, this isn't, people aren't going to read a 25-page white paper just because we wrote it, or they're not going to look at one specific report. Like, we got to be thinking about other ways to do it. Now, I think the tactics developer relations brings, I think there's a lot of executive education, but I think that's where it belongs. But I do know, to your thing, I guess we'll just use ivory tower as the shorthand. It's like, I know I've met a bunch, right? And people were just like, they don't want to talk about this. They don't want to think about it. But I just think the people that are going to do the best in developer relations are the people that are thinking about awareness. Like, what are the things I'm doing and how am I creating awareness? I think that's going to make you very valuable to the company. If you divorce yourself from that completely and just say, I train people and I'm great, it's like, you better be great. You better be like the best ever at doing that one thing because other people are going to worry about that for you. If you're not, then, you're just, you're sort of going to often be not replaced, but your value is going to be perceived lower than someone that's thinking about awareness.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and it seems like, Matt Ray kind of like traipsed through all the implied mechanisms, right? Like, I mean, basically, if you're a DevRel person for a SaaS company, you just need to get an encoded URL, and there's your metric. I mean, like, I'm being a little crass, but it's just like, I don't know, man, signing up people for the SaaS thing, just like with our ads, like that's the easiest, simplest, probably most accurate thing to track as far as awareness, right? Which that also sounds pretty terrible, so I can see why people wouldn't like that. No one likes to be tracked by a number. That means you actually have to do something. And then I guess if you're, you have an open source project, like that's where things get a little like getting attribution as far as like how efforts like caused something to happen. Maybe that's a little easier, but it's at least trackable. But then just like general awareness is very hard to track. Like I often wonder.
I do think, I would, maybe make it a little bit easier if someone worked for me as developer relations. I would be a little bit more relaxed about like, hey, yes, put the URL out there and let's measure that, because that's always going to be the best measurement. But if that person just came back with, here's all the things that I've done, and here are just the raw numbers, right? If you just say, I went to these conferences, I gave a talk about this many people were there, this many people at the conference, I did a podcast interview, I did some streaming, and because I think this is where, I think it's right to push back on executives. It's like, hey, awareness is not like a one-time thing. It isn't, to the thing, to your coin operated. It's not like you put it in and the door opens. It's like people have to hear about it over and over and over again. to really start to get comfortable with it. So if you came back to me with like, here's all the touch points I had, I wouldn't look at you and say, well, I expect everyone at the conference heard you speak, but like, you were there, they saw you, maybe they saw your t-shirt, maybe they saw the banner, maybe they saw this. It's like, okay, I know if we just do enough of that and we keep plugging away, well, that's going to raise awareness, and that may not lead to the conversion I want, and that may be other issues, but like, I know that's what I have to do. And I would say to someone that did that, I'd be like, you're doing a good job.
Yeah. You know, the other chart I should go look. I think there's some question here around like, what do you actually do around here as far as like the work product, which would be good. But you know, it would be interesting to see like one. You know, the use case that's always in my head as the last thing on this is, and this just came up earlier today. I'm often asked around here to help, you know, which DevOps Days cities we should sponsor, and especially several years ago, I did a lot of that selection. And I always wonder, like, man, I wonder how other companies are putting together like the ROI and the decisioning about like the sponsoring it, right? Because, you know, on the one hand, it's super cheap, right? So it's like, it almost doesn't matter like how cheap it is to sponsor a DevOps Days. But, you know, I've been to many of them, and like there's not really any lead genning chance that's easy, unless someone goes up to the booth and like, you know, auto lead gens themselves, which is fine. But that conference in particular is very, you know, as I always joke, unless you're Chef, Puppet, or any open source project that the community likes, you can't talk about commercial interest. But it's totally cool if you're one of those other projects out there to be very commercial about things. But it's hard to like, you know, give a talk about a actual product or something unless they like you. And so like, it does make it a strange proposition to figure out like the value of it. And I'm not saying that it doesn't have value, but that, you know, looking at the edges of any situation is a good way to kind of figure out like what a DevRel person does there that has evident value that kind of proves that they've done something well and kind of makes them feel good, right? So if you could, and they obviously do work there, so if you could kind of crack like how that works out and what they're doing there, it would give you good input on like how you can kind of track the value in the activities that a DevRel people would be, because that's one of the weirdest environments to have some sort of top of funnel awareness showing value for things.
Yeah, it is a constant struggle, like to show your value. You know, but I mean, marketing works the same way, right? They've got, you know, their marketing qualified leads, and you know, they can show returns on, you know, click-throughs on ad placement and that kind of stuff. It's I mean, it's still very nebulous how to pin down conversion numbers to that, right? Because I mean, sales is like, you know, well, this person showed up in Salesforce and, you know, they're 10%, 20%, 30%. And you can start building, you know, your charts about, you know, how the leads are progressing. And, you know, sales and marketing can go back and forwards fighting about, you know, how things progress into the funnel. But when you're developer relations, you're like, no, I got this guy who's just contributing code, you know, and answering questions in Slack, and you're like, what's the value of that, right? So, I mean,
I would say I shorthand that whole thing, though, and I think this is one of the most misunderstood thing about all of like technology selling in all of it. And I think, you know, starting with executives, it's like, if you're building anything for a specific group of a technology community, before you can win at anything, you must be a active, legitimate participant in that community, right? And how do you do that? Is like you go participate in the things that community does. So if it's DevOps Days, it's being at DevOps Days, you know, helping run the DevOps Day, helping get it off the ground, maybe doing a lightning talk. But it's like, if you do that enough, right, people will start to see that they'll ask who you are, and they'll start to know who you are and what you do. And that starts to open the doors. When you start to like only make it transactional, that is fine, but you just know that you're not going to have a strong, quote, developer community or developer relations because you haven't put in the work to be the active participant. And you can even like, and you can go one step further, like in product management, oftentimes people are, you know, doing business cases and doing Excel and like, you know, trying to plan the business. But if those people running the product aren't active participants in the community, it, you know, it generally generally doesn't go well for that product. And I think that's the thing. And
I think that's a good point.
Active participation in the community you're selling to is a mandatory to be successful, and it won't be easy to measure, but you still need to do it.
Yeah, and I think on that, that's a good point, because I think I combine together open source community with like community of a certain type, a sector of the industry, right? So like it's a whole other thing to be involved in the open source community and committing code and stuff. That's cool too. But also just the community of like, I don't know, log management, right? Or like the community of like front end development, and just kind of like you can definitely like kind of smell out pretty quickly at a conference, just to use that as an example, or in content that's provided online or whatever, like who's part of a community and who's just kind of like showed up out of the blue.
And you see that at events like reInvent, where or KubeCon, where there are vendors and there are community vendors, and especially in the Kubernetes ecosystem, it feels like there's this ethos of you have to be contributing to have any sort of voice, and so what that means is when you drop into smaller projects, you will see like very active vendors, trying to make themselves, obviously I'm projecting with Trigger Mesh here, but you have vendors who are like, this is our thing and we're contributing and trying to make ourselves known. And then your name gets bandied around with bigger players, and that works. But then if you see like, hey, there's this company that you've never heard of that has a commercial product that's closed source and they just happen to run on this thing, it's like, it's got to be harder for their developer relations people to like show up in a Kubernetes channel and be like, hey guys, you should use our product. And like, I've never heard of you. Right. And so
I think go back to log management. I think that's a great example. Like, I've seen this, like, right. There are people that are so embedded in that community. They can just get up and give a talk on, here's how I kind of wrote a bunch of regular expressions to find things from log files that were extremely useful. And this is how I approach it. And this is how I discover new things that I want to learn from log files. That honestly, 100% agnostic. They can go on an hour, never talk about a product, just talk about here's how I do it, and here's some of the tools I use, and maybe just talk about some open source or, frankly, Unix command line stuff they do. And people will walk away, they're like, wow, that's blown away. And then later on, you find out that they work at, one of the log management vendors. But you just like, they gave you so much knowledge, right? You're just sort of drawn to them. And then there's the people that get up and they're like, haven't been in the community very long. They're just like, well, we have this we have this demo, and you click here, and here's the builder. I've never really used this before, but it's available. It's kind of like they just click through a demo, and you're like, you don't really get anything out of it. And I think that's just the same example. Like, it's apparent when you're there. And then that first one that I gave, like, right away, that person knows what they're talking about. And everyone walks away kind of like, I need to know who that person is, maybe ask a follow-up question. And I'm going to think highly of their product because that expertise they just gave me really tells me they know the problem.
And you're willing to
give everywhere.
Yeah. And you're willing to give them like the benefit of a doubt when they change companies. Right. And they're like, they hopped over to this other company. I'm going to listen to them because I trust their reputation. And there's a saying in the Kubernetes ecosystem, it's not new to them, but you have to, chop wood and carry water. And, new little Kubernetes startup pops up and everybody is like, starts, retweeting them and talking about how, they're going to change the world. And it's like, because we know those folks and we've seen their work over the years. And, that's kind of the open source ethos. And, you pull for those folks, I guess, because you hope that you pull for them because they're going to pull for you later on. Maybe.
Now, the actual last thing, I was reminded of this as we were talking, is there's another question that what is the top 10 effective channels? And these are all online. And the number one coming in at 52.3% is Twitter. And I read that and I was like, oh, that sucks. Because I don't like, over the past couple of years, I've decided to like try to ignore being engaged in Twitter. And I realized it has like had some odd effects on my professional life. Like I pop in there every now and then and there's all these people and I'm like, wow, they're really doing something here. And they work in my space and they're talking with each other. And I don't know any of these people or what they're doing. Like,
okay, just to make you feel better. it did say while Twitter was there, it gave you a macro social media. It said surprisingly, social media took a steep fall of 124%, often in favor of DevRel. So while Twitter's still the number one social channel, social in general took a pretty big fall. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but maybe it means you could spend less time on social media.
I just feel like I mean every time I spend too much time on Twitter, like reading, and I've tried to make my feed only like, you know, tech people, only stuff I need for my work, with just a few exceptions. Like I go read through it, and like I either like people are complaining about stuff, or I'm like, oh, these people seem to be doing a better job. It's basically just like an upset machine if I go there. And so like it just seems like a terrible place to go for me if that's where I need to go for my professional developer relations work. And I don't really know what the alternative is, but that's not exciting. I mean, it seems sort of like it is kind of like, at least in our infrastructure area. I mean, I have to imagine other people who are very sensitive to, like, you know, assholes and jerks and causticity. What's the word for that? And the
Caustic, yeah.
Character of causticness. That, you know, like that's sort of like a big deal in our infrastructure world, and yet like Twitter is such a big force, which is basically just like, you know, just a big like dog poop fire hose, more or less. But
yeah.
maybe that would be a good DevOps Days lightning talk, is how to use Twitter in a positive way. And like, yeah, are there some said command line things that your DevRel person from the Mythical Talk could apply to that, Brandon, to kind of help weed things out and mute them out?
I'm ready to give a lightning talk.
All right, good. I think the lightning talk is a good end to that subject.
How many?
Right.
How long do we have left?
We have 2 more ads to go. We have 1 more ad to go.
Oh, 17 minutes. One more ad. One more ad.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let me just get the time kind of stamp before I forget. It's 101.
17 minutes. We really talked a long time about that.
Man, we got a lot to say about dog poop.
Yeah.
DM. All right. Hey, everyone should go see our friends at Strong DM to help you secure your network. So check them out.
Where is? Hold on a moment. I actually wrote something down earlier today.
All right. Anytime you're ready now, Kate, I'm ready.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying to look something up here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just deleting out this
for the next topic.
Make it easier. What are we doing next?
I was going to talk about that other survey.
Okay, the first one. Okay, got it.
What do y'all have a preference?
No, it's fine. It's fine with me.
Okay.
Oh, did you guys want to talk about the VMware trigger mesh thing or no?
Nah.
Okay.
It's not news. It's not new. It's VMware picking something back up and recycling it.
Okay, got it. Done. That's easy. All right.
I was just going to say I don't know enough about it.
Oh, even better. Okay, that one's out.
All right. Okay, now I remember what I actually wrote a little article about this to put on our blog, so I was reminding myself. All right. Well, speaking of surveys, there's I don't actually know the O'Reilly adoption of cloud survey or whatever, but they've got a cloud survey out that Rita Minacci, who's been on the podcast, sent to me. And this is the 2021 one. And I read through this because she sent it to me, but it's actually like, it has many things different than I would expect in these kind of cloud surveys, right? Like a lot of cloud surveys you get, speaking of developer relations, are done by a vendor, kind of looking at their own data and maybe doing some, I don't know what they call it in the poll business, original polling, where they commission something new. But, it tends to be based like the one that we love every year, the Datadog poll, right? It's over Datadog stuff, and I think some additional stuff. Anyways, it kind of makes it sort of like a technology driven thing. But this one like had some different stuff in it. And there's 2 things I wanted to talk about. And the second one I'm interested for y'all's input on. And I'm not saying don't say anything about the first. But like one of the things that I found interesting about this is they asked the respondents like which clouds you are using and what they meant by cloud. And they, like, not confusingly, but responsibly, they included traditional on-premise data center. In other words, not cloud. in the answer base, which is very nice and useful to always have that. But what they meant is not only the public cloud providers and all the ones over there in the lower left side of the Magic Quadrant. They got all those ones in there too, but also like whether it's private or hybrid or whatever. But my read of it is that basically everyone uses everything. Seems to be like if you look at the dots, it's just like at this point. And they divide this up by industry and respondent, right? So there's some interesting variation per industry about which type of cloud they use or not use. Like I think the most notable one, which I don't know enough to speculate on, is that in government, and I think it's a global survey, so I don't know if this is most weighted for U.S. government or like global, but in government, Azure does really well. I don't think they beat out AWS. Well, maybe they do actually, but like they do a little bit. They're kind of the number one in government, and I don't know. One could speculate why that is, but whatever. I don't know if it has to do with that Jedi thing. I've lost track of what's going on with that. But anyways, it looks like if you look at like by industry and by individual response, right? Like the people just use everything, which sort of like leads me to the conclusion of like, yeah, it's computers. They'll just deploy their stuff, wherever things are going. Now, there is a decline in certain things and plans to do other stuff. And then the second one that was a really like interesting question to ask. This is what I used to obsess over back when I did cloud strategy at Dell, is they asked people's intention over the next year, what percentage of your apps are you going to move to cloud? And they don't quite say this, but I kind of assume they mean public cloud there, but whatever. I mean, because that's probably the majority of it. And so when I was reading this is where things got a little like, talk about like a developer relations person in a roundabout way trying to hustle stuff that their company does. But this is where things seemed a little like the survey respondents maybe don't know what they're talking about, or
I know
they
exactly what you're talking about.
Or they work at really small companies, right? And so essentially like about 48% of them said they're going to migrate 50% of their applications in the next year to cloud. Right. And then 20% said they're going to migrate all of their applications, if I got those numbers right. And like
in the next year.
And so I think so I wrote this up to put on our blog. We'll see when that gets up. But like my take on this was like, I mean, I guess if you have like 10 applications, sure, you can migrate all of them to public cloud. But like the fastest that I've seen like people responsibly modernize an application is like 6 weeks for a pretty small application, right? And so like, let's say you're an organization with like 100 applications. It's not that you do that necessarily in serial, right? Like you could have different teams working in parallel, but like, migrating 100 applications in 12
50.
months.
50.
Right. Yeah. Because you have to you got to go to the meeting. So first you're going to have a meeting to go to. Then you're going to have to work, you got to find the templates for the architectural decisions. Then you're going to you've got basically like 4 months of meetings. So you're only left with like 8 months. And then in the States, you've got Thanksgiving, December's out, right? So so you take away like November is only a 3 working week month. And then you're going to have some people out for like, spring break.
Golden
that's another week.
And
Diwali,
and
only salespeople do stuff in December. No one else does work in December, right?
And then those Australians, they're gone for January.
So basically what we're talking about is migrating a lot of applications in, what did we get down to, 9 months, right? And that 9 months also is inclusive of learning what the fuck you're doing. Right. So like, and failing at it and having to relearn. And then you're going to have us vendors come in and try to pitch you some ideas too. So I mean, that is like a little ambitious that you're going to migrate that many things.
That definitely jumped out at me when I read this. My response to that is, it's good to want things.
That's exactly what I thought too. I mean, and first of all, everybody that responded to that survey should email me directly. I'd be happy to help you with all your applications. I'm like 100%. But like, there's only two answers. Either first, it's small companies with very few applications,
right? Which is totally legit.
It's just aspirational. I mean, it's nothing wrong with and
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
if you haven't embarked on any
We
type of
can
migration.
all make plans.
If you've
Yeah.
not started anything, and you haven't done it, and maybe your executives and other people are telling you should, yeah, you should say like, yeah, this is a real aggressive goal. Let's do it all next year. But like the reality is, any organization of significant size, I mean, it's going to take much, much longer. And really, it's more about like I think the way a better question, a follow-up question would be, how many of these companies have sort of a dedicated team, partner, or whoever already like working on doing their application migrations? Like, because that's what you're going to need. I mean, it's like running up, like to me, it's like that just says, if I was going to do everything in a year, it's like, okay, you're standing up a whole team. You know, you've allocated a significant amount of budget.
And you've already hired them.
You've done your discovery of all the applications. You know which landing zones you've chosen. You know which technology you want, and now you've just kind of you're operating, let's say, 15 or 20 agile sprint teams all working in parallel, and with pretty significant backlogs, and you're just cranking them out. Like, I'm not saying no one. I mean, I've seen a few organizations at that level, but that's far and away very unusual. That's not the norm at all.
Yeah, and to be fair to the write-up, not fair to it, but they do mention that there's a slight amount of consternating that the write-up does, and they're sort of like, these might include apps that were already being worked on, right? And so there might have been a bunch of them that were multi-year. But anyways,
I'll even grant them that. I'd be like, fine, take those, but you're doing everything else. It's like,
show us.
I mean, but that's call back to our last week. I mean, our AWS, right? I mean, they said the same thing. Only 2 to 5% of applications are in the cloud. So 95%. I mean, that's just what AWS says, and that's probably has some validity to it. So it's not like, we know next year. I mean, just imagine we would all. I mean, I can't tell you how happy we would all be if Adam Selipsky gets up next year and is like, turns out we migrated as an industry 50% of all the workloads to cloud. There wouldn't be enough rooms in Vegas for people having. I mean, the excitement would be incredible. Everyone's had a great year. VMware's had a great year. Matt Ray's startup got bought. Everybody in the world had a great year of that happens. I mean, because there's so much work. But unfortunately, we know that's not going to happen.
At that rate, we could just shut down all the on-premises stuff in about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, we'd be done. We'd be like, and just think of all of the stuff. But that's not going to happen. We know that's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, that leads to the way I've filed this survey away, which again I think is a great survey. You should go check it out. It's a good one. Now, some of the ways that they represent the visuals, I have some quibbles with, but whatever. I'm not going to tell someone how to cut their mustache. Like they can do what they want, but. I think the conclusion that I pull away, one is that people use everything, or multi-cloud as people like to say.
Yeah, it's
totally fine. And then two, I think there is this, and I feel like the AWS people especially sort of gave this thinking out this year and last year, whatever. But there's another chart that's cloud technology use, and again, brilliantly. I've been over here on the other side of the Atlantic too long if I'm saying brilliantly. But there's a chart of they include traditional managed on-premise infrastructure. And if you look at that and our whole thing about modernizing stuff, there's still a huge amount of on-premise infrastructure and people planning. I mean, I guess if people are planning on moving 50% of their stuff, that means they haven't moved 50% of their stuff, so to speak. I mean, so there's a lot of stuff yet to be migrated. And there's plenty of things that not only need to be moved, but that can be modernized or not. Stuff running in quote-unquote cloud is still a small percentage of stuff, which, I'm fond of this figure. Hopefully they'll update it soon. But, I tracked down a couple of Gartner press releases. And their estimate was that at the moment, more or less, there's basically about, 8 to 10% of workloads globally that run in Kubernetes, right? Which is very small. Growth rates are huge. But it gives you a sense of timing and what's out there and available to do, and also a little bit of just it helps you direct your strategic time and spending and stuff. So check out those charts. Put them in your meeting.
All right, and everybody that wants to begin migrating to all the new technology, go see our friends at CBT Nuggets. They'll be happy to help you learn about whatever technology. you're migrating to, and whatever platform. So check them out.
All right.
And
All right. Well,
and let's just all hope if 50% of the migrations happen next year, it's going to be a great year for all of us. Let's hope that happens. I want that to happen. I want to wish that into existence.
That would be great. Do we have any? Oh, sorry.
Hold on. Give me a good. All right. Go ahead.
Do we have any bureaucracy this episode, Brandon?
We do. We have a little bit of bureaucracy. I did send some stickers to, I'm going to do my best to pronounce the name here. It's Kashiti in India. And then I sent some stickers to Pete and his team in Ontario. Always happy to send stickers to anyone, including a team. Just tell me how many you want and send me your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com. And I will be happy to send you stickers anywhere in the world. Also, it's end of year, so we're required as a podcast to do like an end of year episode. And one of the things we always do there is answer listener questions. So if you have any questions you want us to answer, just send it to questions@softwaredefinedtalk.com. Put them in the Slack. We've got a whole channel for it. You can hit us up on Twitter. And generally, I would say we read every single question for sure. I don't know. And I would say there's a very high likelihood if you send a question in and it's remotely, appropriate, shall we say, we'll probably answer it. And then finally, I just wanted to say congratulations to HashiCorp, because we don't really talk about them, but their IPO looked like it was successful. I'm reading here they raised $1.2 billion. So that's good. I think all of us have some friends there. So maybe in 90 days after the lockup, you should make them take you to lunch or something like that and spread some of their wealth. And also wanted to congratulate CloudBees. Looks like they had raised a bunch of money. You can go watch their CEO give a fine presentation in a nice jacket. It looks very official about the future of CloudBees. So they just raised a bunch of money. I think they're officially over the $1 billion mark in their market capitalization. So congratulations to all those people. Hopefully everything will go well, and hopefully everyone else's companies do it as well as they have.
One of the best ways to raise awareness is through podcast sponsorships. I think I would tell those two organizations. And,
it's the key to any DevRel operation.
Hey, I'll just say CloudBees been a sponsor, now $1 billion. So just going to let everyone else can do the awareness tracking on their own. But that did happen. Factually correct.
Datadog, they sponsored.
Factually correct. Now worth $60 billion. I don't know. Who knows what made that successful?
You can't track awareness. That's
can't track awareness, but I know they were sponsors here. I'm just saying. That's all we're saying.
So there's also, just briefly, as we've been mentioned, there's that conference coming up over there in Round Rock, January 17th to 20th. We'll be doing a live recording there. We have several discount tickets for the everything ticket, the 3-day one, or the virtual tickets. And you can get, if you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/333, you can find the discount codes to get $75 or $50 off, depending what you do there. That'll buy you a lunch and a dinner in Texas. Nice. Plenty of money. And also, the call for speakers for DevOps Days Chicago is open, and DevOps Days Birmingham. Y'all should check that out. Those CFPs close in January. Could go look at those. I started thinking about Alabama and Texas, and all of a sudden, I'm talking like a Southern person. Anyhow,
Brian Kelly.
So hopefully there'll be some fun conferences. Now, with that, Matt Ray, what do you have to recommend this week?
My recommendation is the Lens desktop app for Kubernetes. This is if I've been working on deploying some Kubernetes in my home lab, and I use the Kubernetes dashboard, very fine open source project. But the Lens desktop is a desktop application from the fine folks at Mirantis, and it's also open source. So it's just another nice way of looking at your Kubernetes cluster. I liked it. I thought, hey, other people should check this out if you haven't seen it.
Another nice way of looking at your Kubernetes cluster. They should put that on their as their tagline. That would work out well. How about yourself, Brandon? What do you have to recommend?
Well, this week's question comes from Matt Iglesias. I'm sure he listens to this podcast, but he put this out on Twitter. He says, does anyone have a home printer that works, that doesn't just break? And I was like, absolutely. Absolutely, I do. I've got my, they don't even make mine anymore, but I got the updated one, the Brother Compact Monochrome Laser Printer. Yes, I think everybody should have a black and white laser printer in their house. Mine has been a tank. I think we're going on 10 plus years. I replace. It's a little bit more expensive when you buy it, but well worth it. Inkjet of any kind. Immediately just go to your inkjet printer, take it out, right, and throw it right in a trash can. Oh, get your Garbo
How else are you
person
going to get a scanner?
and just get rid of it. I got that too. I got the combo laser scanner. But that one I have separate. This is a whole nother subject. Like I believe you should have a separate scanner because paying
They're
for
so
a separate
expensive.
scanner is worth it so much. Oh, it's so worth it. But anyway, let's just
I
come
had
back
the same
to
printer. I had the same printer. I'm going to
Still
double up
working?
on your recommendation.
yeah. I mean, this thing's the tank. You can't break it. So I'm sure Matthew
Yes.
Iglesias. I know he
Yes,
listens
you
to this podcast. I know he does. In fact, I was had to do a quick replacement of the ink cartridge, and I thought to myself, oh, this is or toner cartridge rather. So that's
Toner.
like, and I thought, yeah, that's the key thing. So I thought, like, for Matthew Iglesias who's listening, yes, the Brother compact monochrome laser printer, that's what you want. So everyone should get one.
Seconded.
Yeah, I have the HP Color LaserJet M254 DW. Which,
That sounds like an inkjet printer to me.
No.
No,
It's
it's
a
a laser jet.
Okay,
Yeah.
you say
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
I don't know why
Inkjet.
I don't know why they put jet in there. That makes maybe at some point when laser jets were around, they felt like they had to put that in there. But I feel like it damages the name.
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
don't
no-
want I don't want my printer to have the word jet in it.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
I just
never,
only
never
lasers.
anything with jet, ink anything. No,
No,
just
no good.
gotta go.
But boy, I love that. I love that laser printer. And you know, it always says the toner's low. It's just senile.
Yeah,
It doesn't know.
It's fine.
Well, my recommendation this week. So, you know, we usually do, this year we've done, I don't know, 12, 14, I've lost count, executive roundtables online where we send wine to people and we have a sommelier, this great guy, Marcus. I would recommend him, but he is fantastic. And then, you know, we do a little discussion about transformation. But at the end of the year, this week we did 2 events with new people and people we'd invited, and we had Marcus back. And we asked him to go over 3 types of gingerbread from the German-speaking countries. That is Germany, they speak German there, and Switzerland, they speak German in addition to some other languages, and Austria. And it turns out there are actually like 3 different types of gingerbread across these countries that are very distinct. Now, my family and I ate a lot of them, but I have one left. It's I'm not going to pronounce it, but the Basler gingerbread that they make in Basel, as you can imagine. And it's a little bit dry of a gingerbread, but it's very fancy. So I don't really know how to pronounce this, but Basler Lackerli, anyone who's like Swiss is probably laughing at me. But you can go there, and it's a very it's a great little gingerbread. There's the other one from Nuremberg. The Nuremberg one is actually the one that I would recommend the most. So look up Nuremberg gingerbread, and you should get some of that. It's delicious. And here's a little tip from Marcus. If you have your gingerbread and it's gotten dried out, what you can do is you can put it in a bag with some sliced up apples, and overnight or in a few hours, it'll moisten it for you, which I think is that way you can moisten your dry breads with apples. I don't know if you eat the apples afterwards. I couldn't say. Well, as always, this has been Software Defined Talk. If you want to get the show notes for this episode, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/333. We've got a great Slack channel where we keep track of links we're going to talk about during the week, talk about all sorts of other things as well. You can add the questions that we'll have in that episode. But if you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com, you can find the link to Slack to join and sign up for it. And with that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
All right, Matt Ray had to depart, so we didn't get his trademark. Bye, but that's all right. We'll get it in there somehow. We have the power of audio. So
I'll look up a link to this gingerbread.
all right, well, I think we need to do. I hadn't heard about the
Lackerly
apples thing.
Hoos gingerbread.
All right, I tried to make everybody a VIP that was listening today, but then I ran out of VIP slots. So if you're listening and I didn't do it, it's not personal. It's just that it said I couldn't do it anymore.
Boo.
Boo. Exactly. Boo. So are you now a gingerbread aficionado? Like, is this something you're actually eating a lot of when you're
No, just what I have.
Okay.
I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong.
It's not that good.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I would buy some, but it's like a lot of these things. Like, unless you buy the good stuff, it's not really like worth it.
No, that part I totally get. Hey, I want you to I was trying to look for a picture of this garbage can that you were describing. I don't know if you I couldn't spell the name of your town. I was trying to Google it.
Oh,
If
I
you
have some
one-
pictures and videos. Sure.
All right, well,
Here, let's
send me some pictures because I wasn't sure if I was getting.
let's see.
I wasn't sure what I was
Amsterdam
looking at was what you were talking about.
Garbage cans. They look just like the Amsterdam ones. Here we go. This is, actually, let's see. Outer Amstel garbage cans. We can find one that's actually from the Outer Amstel. Their website is not as fancy as the Amsterdam one, as you might imagine.
Shocking to hear that.
Oh yeah, yeah. They don't really have them. Well,
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
I'll send you this one from the city of Amsterdam. It's good enough, and you can
Is
see
it
their.
representative of what you're
Oh
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, and you can see their delightful. He probably has a name. They have a delightful mascot for their
All right,
garbage
well, here,
guy.
we'll share it with everyone. This is.
Oh
All
yeah,
right, so
yeah.
that's what you're talking about. That's okay. So that's the thing. I thought there was like a big pole on it. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Well, no, it's kind of obscured, but look at the top. You can see the pole that comes out of the top. It looks kind of like a radio tower.
Oh, now I see. I had to make it bigger. Oh, okay. And then that's what just grabs it.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the thing grabs onto that and then pulls it up. And
Okay. All right. Well,
they're
then I
called-
do have. All right. I'll find some
Yeah,
good
yeah.
pictures of this. And
They're,
then
they're
what is-
called underground garbage cans because they go way underground.
Oh, okay. And what is that like? What is restful? Is that
That's
how you
just
say that?
trash.
That just means trash. Okay.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. All right. Good. That's some good.
Like
All right,
I
well,
guess
there you
it's probably like refuse or something.
go. What, they didn't use the English word? I can't understand it. What's going on? What's wrong with them? What's
That's
wrong
right.
with those people? So, all right. Well, appreciate everyone hanging in with us streaming. I think we're gonna record at least 2 more episodes between now and the end of the year. If I have the calendar, we'll do one next week, and then we should definitely try to stream the question episode. I think that'd be fun. Maybe we'll take some live questions, Kote.
That's what they do in streaming. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've heard, so I've been told. So I don't know. So we'll record this time next week, around this time at least. That's the plan as it is now, 16th. And then Kote, you and I and Matt will have to find a time to record the end of your episode. I know you're sort of headed on vacation sometime, so we'll have to work out some time that you're available.
All right.
All right. Thanks everyone for hanging in on the stream. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.